What's up guys, this is Miasin. So it's been a while since my last Mermail video, and I actually kind of regret it because the deck has started gaining a lot in popularity recently, and it's because, someone won a regional in Toronto with it, and the pro players are really starting to pick up the deck because it has a lot of potential. It really thrives off of people's ignorance, and it really does not lose to the small hand shops. There are infinite ways of getting your stuff going. It's not just the one card combos and that's it, and this spreadsheet will really help you understand just how incredibly explosive this deck is, and also how resilient it is, and how many backup plans you really have in the deck. So this is a spreadsheet video again, so there's 10 combos that are all going to be listed in the pinned comment as well as the description. So if there is a combo that you're more interested in, you are more than welcome to just skip ahead and check it out. But again, I really do recommend watching the whole video just so that you have a full understanding of what the deck can really achieve. And of course, the deck profile will be at the very end. And before we go any further, since this video took me quite a while to make, I would really appreciate you if you could just smash the like and subscribe button. It really helps out a ton, so thank you guys so much in advance. And with that being said, let's get into combo number 1. Okay, so this line is very interesting. It's assuming that you have Neptabyss and nothing else that you necessarily have to add into that combo, and that's assuming that you're trying to beat Nibiru. If you don't really respect Nibiru, there's a better line, but I'm not going to show it here. I'm going to show it in combo number 2. So again, after you're done watching this, combo number 2 is going to help you figure out what you can do when you know for a fact that your opponent does not play Nibiru. So for example, if you're playing against Runic Stun and it's a game 3 and you're going first. Anyways, normal summon the Neptabyss, send your Shadow Squad that can special summon a monster from the deck, and also search the Dragoon with the Neptabyss, summon your Abyss Pike with the Shadow Squad, and Abyss Pike can discard a water monster and search level 3 water monster from your deck to your hand. So you can even search like Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood. But yeah, discard your Dragoons. You're going to be searching for the Abyssrhine, and the Dragoons is going to be searching Moulin Glacier on a separate chain link. So at this point, you will be going Abyssrhine or Abyssrhine, whatever, pitch the Neptabyss, and then search the Abyss Teus, and that is going to be reviving back the Dragoons. So far, this is only 3 summons. Summon number 4 is going to be Bahamut Shark. Detach very specifically the Dragoons, very important, because that does trigger the Dragoons in order to search. And summon your Toad in summon number 5. So if you get nibbed, it doesn't matter, because you can just go negate the nib, and then send the Toad, recycle back any water. And it's also not going to have an impact on like the water count for Moulin Glacier. Nib doesn't affect this combo whatsoever. As a matter of fact, it just makes your opponent go neg once, so your Moulin Glacier hits even harder. But yeah, search with the Dragoons. That is going to be the... Any Sea Serpent, doesn't have to be anything in specific, in particular. Summon your Teus, that searches the Gund, and then summon your Moulin Glacier, discard 2 cards, and then go for the Coral Anemone, that revives back the Shadow Squad, discard the Abyss Gund, revive back the Abyss Teus, and also everything becomes level 7. Make sure that you overlay with the Moulin Glacier, because it does have a drawback where if it leaves the field, it skips your next battle phase, but if it gets used as an Xyz material, it doesn't recognize that it left the field, so it's not going to skip your next battle phase, and then you can OTK next turn. And yeah, that's already a huge board, because that's Rip 2, and then you also have the Toad Negate, you got the Abyss Gaios, and then you also have the Draw 1 on your opponent's turn with the Abyssrhine. And if you had like, let's say, a heavy infantry or something that can allow you to pop a card, or if you get a water that you can use in order to like send something to the graveyard in order to activate the effect of something, like even the Toad, for example, I think you can trigger the Abyss King, which gets you your Abyss Kill of the Mizuchi if you play it, but if you don't, then you can still search the Abyss String of Taitana or whatever. I forgot the name, but it's a monster reborn. Can negate Dark Ruler, the Mizuchi, not the other one, which is kind of cute. It's one of the few cards in the game that can negate Dark Ruler, Super Poly, and stuff like that. But yeah, that's it for this one. Let's get into combo number 2, which is what you can do with one single Neptabyss when you know for a fact that you don't have to fear Nibiru. Okay, so again, it's just one single Neptabyss, so the very start of the combo is the exact same, but this time we're not going to be going with the Abyss Teus. We're rather going to be abusing Coelacanth. But yeah, send the squad, summon the Pike, discard the Dragoons, search the Abyssrhine, search the Moulin Glacier with the Dragoons, but this time you summon the Coelacanth, and then revive back a Dragoons with the Neptabyss. Everything is a mandatory effect, by the way. Every single Atlantean monster, when they are sent to the graveyard, they have to trigger their effects. It's not like you choose, and they're also all once per turn, except for Dragoons. What a coincidence. So yeah, that card you just abuse over and over. By the way, before you use the Bahamut Shark, make sure that you use Coelacanth first, because you special summon as many monsters as possible, so you might as well get full value. And then yeah, Synchro Summon for Dragite, summon your Moulin Glacier, Rip 2, and then go for another Bahamut Shark. Obviously, this loses very, very hard to Nibiru, but that's because we're not respecting it. There's another line where you can, obviously combo number 1. But yeah, summon your Toad, and then Dragoon searches. That's going to be the heavy infantry, and then link off for an enemy, revive back the Shadow Squad, and then discard another card, transform your your 2 monsters into level 7s, and then make the Abyss Gaios, and then Bahamut Shark, summon the Toad. And just like that, you're gonna have a pretty massive board. This was Rip 2 plus Double Toad, Abyss Gaios, and Dragite, and then you can get like something with this, because you can use the graveyard effect of the Abyssrhine, discard the heavy infantry, destroy a monster, and then also trigger your Abyss King, so get your literally everything. This is like a completely unbreakable board. There's absolutely no way your opponent can win. Even if you get hit by Dark Ruler, you can counter it. So yeah, I really can't see how you can lose with a board like this. Okay, so still on the one-card combos, Neptabyss is really just the best one-card combo out there because it is like naturally resilient to hand traps, and that's because it foolishes for cost, and then it searches a card. It's so stupid. Like, the card is way too broken for no good reason, but I think, like, this deck deserves a card that is this broken, because otherwise, everything is kind of like neggy. You always have to pitch cards to summon your monsters, especially, like, the old Mermails, like Megalo and, like, the Whale. Oh my god, that one's discards 4 cards, and the Abyssrhine discard 3 cards. So obviously, you need your cards to do a lot of things, and Neptabyss is just your best friend. And even when you can't get all the full value of Neptabyss, it can still beat something like Dueling Logbird, which is insane. So yeah, normal summon your Neptabyss, send your Shadow Squad, Surge the Dragoons. By the way, you don't have to play any worse than how you usually would if you, let's say, weren't afraid of Dueling Logbird, so you don't have to, like, commit to a worse play. So it's still assuming that we don't know that the opponent has Droll. You play the same way, and then from here on out, you get Drolled here, it's fine. You summon something like Heavy Infantry, and then extra normal summon for the Dragoons. Link off for Coral an enemy, revive back your Shadow Squad, discard whatever card, and then everything becomes level 7. And that is still Abyss Gaios with Coral and Enemy, which is a one-card combo. Not too bad, honestly. It's not, like, super insane. But the Abyss Gaios gets you a follow-up because you can detach your Dragoons, and then that searches for another Neptabyss, and then you're free to, you know, pop off next turn. So yeah, 1 interruption through a Dueling Logbird. It's a hand trap that seriously kills this deck. If you don't have, like, a Abyssrhine access to summon Coelacanth and then make double Bahamut, double Toad. Because again, if we had the knowledge that our opponent did have the Dueling Logbird, we would have played differently, because then we could have get our first search for the Abyssrhine, and then we get Drolled, it doesn't matter, we just use the effects, summon the Coelacanth, and then make a double Toad or whatever. But yeah, let's get into combo number 3 now. I lied, I meant combo number 4. Anyways, in this situation, we have Deep Sea Minstrel and Dragoons, so this card can combo off with a lot of different cards in the deck, but Minstrel and Dragoons is in the exact same sequencing, so that's the reason why I'm going to be showcasing both. But yeah, obviously, first things first, Minstrel, look at your opponent's hand. This is completely unfair, literally one of the most ridiculous mechanics in the whole game, because you look at your opponent's hand, you make him lose, like, the one hand trap that does kill you, and then you can full combo uninterrupted, because, yeah, it's not really going to beat you now. But yeah, if you do play the Deep Sea Diva, which is interesting in this situation, your combo gets just a little better, but it's not really a necessity, because otherwise, like, we can just go, like, straight ahead, like, normal summon Neptabyss, and then it would do all of that. So it doesn't really matter too much, but this Deep Sea Diva, all it really does is 1 extra body, and obviously I'm not going to be using it for quite a while, so everything else, even without Deep Sea Diva, you can still achieve very easily. So you can still Moulin Glacia, you can still Bahamut into Toad. The only difference is that if we do have Deep Sea Diva, at this point, we can link off, like, the Deep Sea Diva and, like, the other monsters for, like, the Link 3, etc. Either way, you still would have had access to, like, the Coral and Enemy by using the Abyss Teus and your Deep Sea, so it really doesn't matter too much. And then, yeah, you can still revive back your Shadow Squad. So, yeah, the only thing it really makes you lose is access to, like, the Abyss King right away, which I think is fine. It doesn't really change too much to my life. I mean, all it really does actually is, like, prevent you from, like, getting the search right away, but you still get it on your opponent's turn. So if it's like Mizuchi, then it really doesn't matter. But yeah, in this situation, we can go into double Toad with the Abyss Gaios and Surge the Heavy Infantry and rip 2 cards after looking at our opponent's hand, and everything is being linked by the Neptabyss. So your opponent cannot, like, imperm your Toads, for example. He has to use it on the Neptabyss, the Royal something, the King Mermail or something. I forgot the name, who cares? Okay, so this is the second variation, this time Deep Sea Minstrel and your Shadow Squad. So you're going to be playing differently. So send your Shadow Squad, look at your opponent's hand, obviously, summon your Neptabyss from the deck, and then send your Dragoons. That searches the Abyssrhine, actually. When this time we're going to be searching the Moulin Glacia right away, and then Abyssrhine, send your Neptabyss, revive back Dragoons. Coelacanth, discard whatever card, summon whatever, usually 2 Fishborg Harpooner and 1 Pike, or the other way around, doesn't really matter too much. And then Bahamut Shark, detach, very specifically Dragoons. Search for your Minstrel, or literally any Sea Serpent at this point. and then discard 2 cards from your opponent's hand, and then curl an enemy, revive back the Shadow Squad, Bahamut Shark, summon the Toad, and then link off for the Neptabyss King. This does matter because then when you use the effect of your Shadow Squad, it is going to trigger the Link 3 so that you can search your equip spell right away. And then, yeah, if it's Mizuchi, then you can reuse it. And yeah, it's not too bad. It's slightly worse than the other combo because this time we don't have heavy infantry in the hand, but we also didn't have to rely on like Deep Sea Diva and stuff like that. So it still ends up being the same if you don't play that card. Okay, so this hand is very interesting because it doesn't look very good, but it actually ends up being pretty playable. So I have double Shadow Squad and the rest doesn't really matter too much. And it does a lot more than you think. So normal summon your Shadow Squad and then discard another Shadow Squad so it becomes level 7. What is really relevant is not the fact that it becomes level 7. I couldn't care less about that. It's just the fact that I'm triggering Shadow Squad to the graveyard so I can special summon Neptabyss. And from here on out, I know for a fact that I can play because I send Dragoons, I search the Abyssrhine, search the Moulin Glacier. It's really important, by the way, to always keep track of the waters in your graveyard because that's like the main skill and that's like the main thing that really confuses me when I play this deck. It's very annoying, but yeah, your Neptabyss revives back the Dragoons, obviously, and then Coelacanth summon 2 monsters from the deck. It feels a little neggy, but that's the best we can do, unfortunately. And then you're going to be making the Coral an enemy. At this point, you have exactly 5 waters in grave, unless you discarded a water for your Shadow Squad, in which case, you're going to have to play a little differently. But yeah, Moulin Glacier, Rip 2, and then Bahamut Shark, Detach, Summon the Toad, Coral an enemy, revive back your Fishborg Harpooner because it is very low attack. It cannot revive back any other level 4 monster, by the way. Everything has like over 1500 or less attack in your graveyard. But yeah, link off into the Mermail King, whatever, and then Bahamut Shark into Toad, which triggers this. And then you can search your equip spell, whatever. And also Dragoon searches for heavy infantry so that you get a pop on your opponent's turn. So yeah, double Toad, Rip 2, and then you get the equip spell, whatever, if that matters. Which is pretty good considering the fact that all we had was just 2 copies of Shadow Squad. It's really not that great, actually. Okay, so in this situation, this is another combo that has a lot of different variations, but I'm not going to show all of them because in my head, it's a little too simplistic because the combo is the exact same once you get to a certain point. And that point is simply just summon Coelacanth, and then you can do everything that I'm about to show you. And the way you can get there, very easy. All you have to do is resolve Abyssrhine. That card is stupid, completely unfair. But let's just say, hypothetically speaking, you have Mermail, Abyss Teus, and a water, or Abyss Pike and a water, or Abyssrhine and a Mermail or Atlantean, so because that one is a little trickier to use, but you can have like 2 copies of Mermail, Abyssrhine, and it should work. So yeah, summon your Teus in this situation at least, and then search your deck for the Abyssrhine, and then use that. And also, you're also beating Nibiru, Droll and Logbird in the process, because we're only searching once, so it really doesn't matter. At this point, even if you get Drolled, you can still summon, you know, a bunch of Bahamuts into Toads and then the Link 3, etc. So it really doesn't beat you. But yeah, this, if you don't get Drolled, you can even summon your Virtue Dragon, which can search Virtue Stream from your deck to your hand. Very, very cool, actually. I really like that. And then you can go into Coral an enemy. And this card has another really nice effect that you will see in a second. But yeah, go into Bahamut Shark. And then at this point, we can use the effect of the Virtue Dragon, detach, and Xyz material from any of your Xyz monsters, even if it's not himself. So if it's summoned off a Bahamut Shark, even with 0 materials, it can still use all of its effects. So you recycle back your Abyss Pike, and we never used our normal summon so far. But yeah, link off into the Neptabyss Link 3, and then Bahamut Shark into Toad, that is going to be triggering the Link 3, search your Abyss String of Triana, whatever, and then revive back the Abyss Pike, which triggers itself, and then discard your Abyss Pike to search your Shadow Squad. And then we can go into another Bahamut Shark again, and then detach to summon the Toad, and then link off for the Abyss Alacia. And on the opponent's turn, that is going to be a very nice way to just to have a lot of plays on the opponent's turn, because you can discard your Shadow Squad and then search. Well, that's going to be special summoning the Pike, but you can search for the Abyss Gund with the Abyss Alacia, and then that is going to be special summoning the Abyss Pike. Abyss Pike can use its effect to discard the Abyss Gund, and then you can search. I don't know if we already had Abyssrhine in this situation. But yeah, you can. Oh, you can't search heavy infantry. Yeah, because again, it's a level 3 very specifically. But you can search Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood, which is cute, but whatever. Or you can search like a Abyssrhine, so you have follow up for next turn. So yeah, there are a lot of nice options, and yeah, you're also summoning a lot of monsters on the field. You have the Virtue Stream, so even if you get hit by double Dark Ruler, let's say, you still don't lose to it. All of that off of a pretty mediocre hand, which is pretty cool. So in this situation, I have a 2-card combo, and I can beat an Ash, like a correctly used Ash, because it wouldn't have mattered if our opponent uses it right away on the Abyssrhine, or if he holds it for the Coelacanth, it really doesn't matter, so you might as well use it on the Abyssrhine. In this situation, obviously, we're using hindsight in order to determine if this is correct or not, but in this situation, it is. So yeah, Abyssrhine, discard your Dragoons, you get ashed, usually 9 times out of 10. If you have, like, no cards in your hand, you're kind of screwed, but in this situation, just off of pitching a Dragoons, we can fully recover, because now we can search Neptabyss, and Neptabyss is love, Neptabyss is life, because, again, we're going to be sending the Shadow Squad, search the Dragoons, summon the Pike, Pike effect, discard Dragoons, and it's almost as if nothing ever happened, you know, you ashed me, well, I'm just not really feeling it, you know, and also, this is where, at this point, you would have exactly 5 water monsters after using the Coral Anemone. So you have to summon that Moulin Glacia, you rip 2 cards, and then we're not even close to being done. We link off, unfortunately in this combo, you do have to link off the Moulin Glacia in order to go into the Mermail King Neptabyss, which is a little unfortunate, but it's really the only way I was able to figure it out. If we don't, then we're not going to be able to get the equip spell off of the Neptabyss King, so we have to use the Mermail Shadow Squad while this card is on the field, and then that is going to be not only reviving back the Abyss Pike with the discard from Abyss Gund, but also search the Abyss String of Triana while we have the Neptabyss Mermail King, and that can revive back the Dragoons, and then we can overlay for Bahamut Shark, and then detach the Dragoons for the Toad. Dragoon searches the Heavy Infantry, and that is 2 interruptions through an Ash, and hand loop for 2. So your opponent has 2 cards in hand, top decking to a 3rd card, and you have 2 interruptions off of 2 cards. That is completely insane. And you would have 4 cards in hand at this point, right? Yeah, you would have 4 cards in hand. Your opponent would have like 3 cards in hand going second. There is no way you can lose. Now, the question is, how good is this deck against Shifter? Well, I'm gonna tell you honestly, in game 1, Shifter is gonna completely cripple you. It really hurts, but post game 1, I think there are ways of at least mitigating the impact that Shifter has against you, and if people use Shifter incorrectly against you, you can really capitalize off of that. So obviously, if they like shotgun Shifter on standby phase, that's great for you. That's absolutely fantastic, because now we can go, let's say, Abyssrhine, pitch whatever, summon the Coelacanth. And again, it's the exact same setup for every single combo. If you can just get a Coelacanth on the field, this card doesn't send a card from the hand to the graveyard as cost, it just discards a card. So even under Shifter, you can still summon 4 monsters. And I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of freaking crazy. Now again, you can't go into Bagus Capaz because Abyssrhine locks you underwater monsters only, which is very frustrating. So you're locked underwater monsters only, you can't go Bahamut Shark into Toad, because Toad has to send an Aqua monster to the graveyard as a cost to send to negate something. So the only options would be something like a Lavirtue Dragon into Virtue Stream, as well as another monster that I think is really good. So obviously Lavirtue Dragon, first one, that is going to be searching your trap card. And then the other option would be number 4 Stealth Dragon. If you have Goes in Match, this card gets particularly better. And if you just want like some, I guess like if you want to change like where the Exceedment Trolls are, you can do that, but it doesn't really add anything. So yeah, that's 2 interruptions off of, I guess, like any like combination of 2 cards. Very easy to do through a Shifter. That's honestly not too bad if you ask me. And last but definitely not least, this is what you can do when your hand is complete garbage. In this situation, I have Minstrel and Heavy Infantry, but I will assume that I get a little lucky in this combo, because I got so unlucky with my opening hand that maybe if it's my lucky day, I can get out of this madness, because again, I'm way too unlucky here. But yeah, normal summon the Heavy Infantry and then extra normal summon for the Minstrel, because this card gets you an extra normal summon for a level 4 lower Sea Serpent monster, and that just happens to be a Sea Serpent. So you link off into the Coral Anemone, and then revive back your Minstrel, and Minstrel is a very weird card. It has an effect that I think nobody knows about, except for, you know, the real Mermail OG players, and this card's effect is, if this card is special summoned, you can send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard, then target 1 level 4 lower water monster in your graveyard, except itself, semicolon, this is really important, place it on the top or bottom of the deck. This card's effect is not mill 3 cards, it's place a water monster on in your graveyard on the top or bottom of your deck. So in other words, it mills your waters for cost, meaning that if you send Dragoon or Shadow Squad, it will trigger its effect since it was sent to the graveyard to trigger the effect of a water monster. So in other words, if we get lucky with this Minstrel, we can capitalize off of that And in this situation, I will assume that, again, because I got so unlucky, I'll assume that I sent a Shadow Squad. If you send Dragoons, it's also not too bad, but Shadow Squad is like infinitely better because that summons the Neptabyss. Neptabyss sends Dragoons, Surge Dragoon, etc. So I'll do that, but again, even if you send Dragoons, regardless, like depending on what else your hand is, you can still kind of get to some places. But yeah, I will be putting back the heavy infantry on the bottom of the deck, and then Shadow Squad will be special summoning the Neptabyss from the deck, and then link off into the Mermail King Neptabyss, send the Dragoon, search the Abyssrhine. Dragoon is going to be searching, and the Neptabyss is going to be searching the Abyssrhine of Triana, and then Dragoon searches the Moulin Glacia, tribute the Neptabyss to use the effect of the Abyssrhine, and then Neptabyss revive back the Dragoons, and then Coelacanth discard your equip spell, whatever, it doesn't really matter too much, who cares. You don't really need it for this combo, and also it has a cool graveyard effect, and you can recruit back from the graveyard with the Neptabyss King, if I recall correctly. Yeah, there we go, it's from deck or graveyard to your hand, so it's not too bad, or equip it right away, and then yeah, overlay for your Bahamut Shark. At this point, granted you didn't mail any other waters, you can summon the Moulin Glacia because that's exactly 5 waters in grave, and then Moulin Glacia can rip 2 cards, and then you can Synchro Summon it into Dragite. You can't go into Bahamut Shark, otherwise you're not gonna have enough space on the field. And then yeah, summon your Toad, and then that searches your heavy infantry, and that is what, like 4 options. You got the Dragite, Spell and Trap Negate, the Toad, and then you got the heavy infantry, the potential Mizuchi if you play it, and then you also hand ripped your opponent for 2 cards off of like a very bad hand. Okay, so for the deck profile, this is almost the exact same as my previous Mermail deck profile. I think there was like a few changes, but I'm gonna make this super short and sweet, so regardless of like your understanding and expertise of the Mermail deck, this video should be good enough to make you almost turn into like a Mermail master, because I'm not gonna like pretend like I'm really good with the deck, but I think I have a very good understanding, at least of the combos, not necessarily on how to play the deck going second. But granted that you play a lot of non-engine cards, it shouldn't be that much of an issue. So first things first, I'm playing 3 Molchemi Purulia. The main reason why I'm playing Purulia is because it's a level 4 water monster, and it does matter because it can be a free discard for, let's say, your Abyss Teus, your Abyss Pike. And these cards can only discard water monsters, so even if you Droid going first, it's not too bad, and if you Droid going second, it's fantastic, right? So that's how you gotta think. And also, it has some cute synergy with Fishborg Harpooner. You can reveal it, and then either special summon the Purulia or special summon the Harpooner, and then you can also revive back Purulia with the Cruel Anemone because it has very low attack, and you can use it as a material for Bahamut Shark. So a lot of things about the Purulia, it really makes sense to main deck. I think it's particularly good in this deck. Furos is just Exodia, so you gotta play it. And then Ash and Impulse. Impulse allows you to use water, fire, and dark effects. So nothing in this deck loses to your own Impulse. You are completely fine. I mean, I guess Furos, but that's irrelevant. You just use Furos first and then use Impulse. And then yeah, obviously we play Ash and Impulse because those cards are completely correct. By far the best hand traps if you can play them. So yeah, I was able to figure out how to play 12 non-engine in 40. I think it's borderline impossible to do any less unless you're willing to cut maybe like 1 Fishborg Harpooner, and if you're kind of crazy, then maybe cut like the 3rd Abyss Pike, but I really don't like this because you really need fish monsters for your Coelacanth, and also you don't want to cut on consistency cards. Like everything that I'm playing, I think makes total sense to play as a 3 of. So yeah, 3 Neptabyss, 3 Pike, 3 Abyss Teus, 3 Minstrel, 3 Dragoons, 3 Shadow Squad, 3 Abyssrhine. Every single one of these cards are remarkable. So Neptabyss obviously is the cheat code of the deck. If you draw it, you just win. You literally win on the spot. This card is way too good. It eats every single hand shaft for breakfast. Like, they do nothing. You imperm Neptabyss, sure, I still special summon a monster from the deck with Shadow Squad, and that monster can be Abyss Pike. You want to imperm the Abyss Pike on top, sure, I just discarded Dragoons, and then I can still search another monster and then keep playing as if nothing ever happened. It's beautiful to look at. You can imperm me infinite billion times, and then I can go, okay, Abyssrhine effect, special summon the Coelacanth. Oh, you held your imperm for the Coelacanth. Well, guess what? Coelacanth can protect itself from imperm by tributing another fish monster on the field. So it absolutely didn't matter that you held your imperm for Coelacanth. You see how broken this deck is? The small hand traps really do nothing, and if you have like Nibiru as your only hand trap, you lose, because this deck will always beat Nibiru because you can summon Toad on summon number 5 super easily. And going second, you also beat Nibiru because of cards like Dominus Impulse. Everything just makes sense, so that's the reason why this deck list I truly recommend. But yeah, these cards, they all work as 2-card combos, so like Abyss Pike, Abyss Teus, these cards in combination with any water should get you there. And then Minstrel in combination with Dragoon or Shadow Squad gets you there. You can also have 2 Shadow Squad, and that also is not full combo, but very good board. And then Abyssrhine with anything also gets you there. So yeah, a lot of combinations. The world is your oyster. Oh, I love that. This is the perfect deck for this. Anyways, the one-ofs that are not necessarily good. Abyss Gund, this is a brick. There's also another brick that you can play, but I don't know, it might be a little too complicated. You can try like the Xyz Armored package in this deck. I don't know how relevant it is. Maybe it is good, but I have no idea. And then the Heavy Infantry, of course, this card is also kind of a brick. It doesn't really do much of anything on its own. So I don't know, maybe you might want to cut it, but it does give you a little bit of gas, so I guess you can still keep it in. The Coelacanth, obviously you need it, and then the Moulin Glacia, and the most questionable card in the deck is Fishborg Harpooner. This one is the most likely to just be cut overall, or at least be played as a one-of, so if you have like any other suggestions, I am open to them. But yeah, that's it for the main deck, 40 cards. For the extra deck, the Dragite, of course, the Passadra Abyss, that you can summon either on top of your Abyss Gaios, or on top of the Abyssrhine. By the Abyssrhine, you are never summoning this card with 3 level 3 monsters. You're just cheating it out with Bahamut Shark so that you can turn this into this, and then bounce back a bunch of cards your opponent controls, send a water monster from deck to grave that triggers this effect, and then you link this off, and then you soul charge back 3 level 4 lower 3 fish, sea serpent, or aqua monsters. Yeah, anyways, the Abyss Gaios, obviously, the triple Bahamut Shark, there are 3 different targets for it. So the Abyssrhine, obviously, like I said, the Virtue Dragon, so you can search your Virtue Stream post game 1. This is especially good under Shifter. And then Toad, which is unusable under Shifter for obvious reasons. And then, of course, the number 4 Stealth Kraken, particularly good with Gozen Match. Abyss Dweller, very good in the Mirror Match and some other decks. And then for the Link monsters, the Mermail King Neptabyss, Coral Enemy, and the Abyssrhine. I also think that for the most part, every single one of these cards should come up. Again, you cannot play cards like Baguska in this deck because you are pretty much always locked under water monsters only. It's very annoying. Anyways, for the side deck, there's a lot of ways to do it. You can also play like Crossal with 1 Droll and 1 Shifter in your side deck so that you can counter them. But I'm doing like 3 Solemn Judgment and a Call by, a Gozen Match, and a Virtue Stream instead. So I have 6 going first cards. My game plan is to side out the 6 Molchemy cards when I'm going first. And going second, I have a bunch of cards that are good as well, especially for my bad matchups. So I can side in an extra 3 Joblet by siding out like the 2 Harpooners and maybe like like the Abyss Gun or something. And I can also side in like the back row removals against the back row decks. So Harpy's Feather Duster, Double Lightning Storm, and Triple Cosmic Cyclone. But yeah, that's it for this Mermail spreadsheet video. I tried to make it as short and as quick as possible. Even though it's 10 combos, this video should be under 30 minutes. Especially after like the edits and everything. So yeah, I hope that you guys were able to enjoy and learn a thing or two. If you did, let me know in the comment section below, and also let me know how you feel about Mermail in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.